Once upon a time, there were 3 little eggs, 3 little siblings. They were full of life and were happy to live. They loved playing with each other and cuddled together as they fell asleep at night. They didn't know the reason for their existence or anything about themselves, and it wasn't an easy life for them, but they knew they had each other, and it was all that mattered. Everything was fine. They were kind souls at heart, full of love, and mischievous little souls as they had fun playing pranks on their caretakers. Sometimes it was just playing hide and seek with them, finding all the best places to hide in these big empty white rooms. Other times, they would just take some pencils and draw on the walls. You may think, what little devils they were, but these 3 little eggs always tried their best to make their caretakers happy and did everything they wanted them to do. Being an experiment wasn't easy for them. Each day, they had to go through several batteries of tests, sometimes painful, sometimes not. Sometimes, they swore they could hear a strange cracking sound, and the test always immediately stopped. The people around them ran frantically, trying to find a way to heal them. Eventually, they were put to sleep and woke up feeling alright again. Being an egg wasn't an easy life, but despite how hard it was, the bedroom of these 3 little eggs was always filled with laughter. After all, they were only full of love to give. The 3 little eggs were slowly discovering life. All 3 of them loved flowers very much. The first loved puppies, the second loved cornflowers, and the last loved red-colored saplings. One fell in love with music and playing instruments after a specific test studying rations to sounds. Another one fell in love with the snow after a particular test studying reactions to cold environments. And the last one dreamed of living in a castle someday after stumbling upon some children's fairy tale books. Life wasn't easy, but they started having dreams and were full of hope. One sinister day, their caretakers didn't show up. Instead, there were other people who looked almost the same, but wore different clothes. Because of their blank faces, it was impossible to guess what they were thinking or their intentions, but something felt wrong. The next thing these little eggs knew, they were separated from each other. Feeling lost, they felt anxiety overcoming them. A sense of dread filled them, wondering if it was time for them to start panicking. But brave little eggs they were, they kept following these strange people. Eventually, they were led into tiny rooms, tiny and cramped ones. They got put into little glass cages, and the strange people wouldn't leave them alone. Surely it was just another test, right? They were used to it. Everything was going to be okay. Although faceless, the strange blank figures seemed to stare at them silently for a few seconds. Afterward, they turned their backs, left without a word, and closed the access to the rooms. Silence filled the rooms even more. Then, the little eggs started waiting, full of hope that these people would come back for them. They waited, and waited, and waited. No one came. The days passed by. Each day felt more challenging than the previous one. Each day felt more lonely. The hunger was unbearable, becoming more and more painful each day. Eventually, they started giving up on hope to be found. But sometimes, you shouldn't give up on hope. You shouldn't let hope go away. Flowers bloomed on a bright spring day, and the wind hummed a soft melody. On April 15th, 2023, a little egg was found in an attic. She was then named Lula. A month later, a plane crashed. 5 French speakers survived. On May 16th, 2023, another little egg was found inside a wall. She was then named Pom. Some months later, a detective walked into a room and found a journal. On August 30th, 2023, it was too late for this little one, and she never had a name to be called. The first two survived, and despite how hard it was to survive on the island, they were still happy to live. They had dreams and hope for a better future with their newfound adopted families. But for some strange reason, they couldn't recall all that happened to them. Their memories were wiped, forever lost. But still, they could feel that something was missing. They never knew what exactly. The two survivors became sisters again. They didn't know why, but they felt a connection with each other and were very attached to their memories. In the end, they never really forgot hope.